champions! 3 rookies prove themselves worthy of the top 4 in the EU LCS. A double kill from Perch! This guy is a madman! He can do it! Oh, Memento! You're beautiful, man! Yes, the Quadra! Gotta be a pasta for coming!
It's time to find out who will rise. This is the EU LCS.
Bienvenidos a Madrid, señoras y señores, para las finales LCS Europea. We are gearing up for a weekend packed with action in the Palacio Vista Alegre as Vitality and Misfits Gaming kick things off in tonight's third place decider. I'm your Sjokz supporter, joined by the Spanish crowd, Andrew Vedius Day, Jonas Kold Anderson, and G2's owner and Spanish legenda, Carlos Ocelote Rodriguez. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great already in this arena. We're still filling up, and I can just feel the energy. Spain is always a pleasure to come to.
Spanish fan base, man. The people here.
It is. I do want to point out, just to give Ocelote some credit, he may not be fantastic on the Rift anymore, but the moment he stepped on stage, there was a chant that erupted from the crowd going, "Oh, Ocelote." I thought that was
brought
really
a tear into my eye, I gotta say.
They absolutely love you.
Remember.
They do remember.
Then you know you made it.
That they do. Well, we're going to be relying on you for a ready check as well as the rest of my guests. So let's go down how we exactly got here. It's been a very long road to Madrid. And last week we had some epic battles in the semifinals. Fnatic and Schalke in the end came out on top. Fnatic in that battle versus Misfits, which was pretty close, I have to say.
Yes, it was surprisingly competitive. Many expected Fnatic to be the clear-cut favorites, but we were very close to coming to a Game 5 if it wasn't for Caps and his fantastic performance on the Vayne and on the LeBlanc.
Definitely. I think on the other side, the other semi-final was not so competitive. Honestly, I think Schalke had really figured Vitality out in the game, and that really showed, in my opinion.
Yeah, Carlos, what do you think of our finalists, Fnatic and Schalke?
Well, Caps is just way above, in my opinion, everybody else right now, and it just shows, and it keeps showing every game. That game with LeBlanc was, I think, the game I've seen somebody carry the most in recent times.
Yeah, what about Schalke, a new finalist once again in Europe?
Well, I just feel great for Amazing. The guy must bring something to the table that you know, we can't really see, right? And as per Vitality and Misfits, you know, this is just you know, it's people with a lot of energy and really willing to show what they're capable of. So I can't wait.
And I think that both teams showed a lot of core stuff in their semifinals, and it kind of sets up nicely for today's third place match, where there is a bit of a grudge match between the two teams, a lot of matchups that we're very excited about, and I think it's going to be a fantastic weekend of games.
That it will be. We have to keep in mind that it's about a couple of things here this weekend. It's about winning on this awesome stage. It's about lifting the cup tomorrow for Fnatic and Schalke, but it is also about qualification for Worlds. There are a lot of implications, possible implications, which we will go over in detail in just a bit. But the TLDR is you have to try and win here to keep your chances alive. Vitality can still get second seed. Misfits want some momentum going into the regional qualifier, so there's a lot more at stake than meets the eye at first glance.
And in the end, for both of these teams, it is the World Championship that matters, because we know from the start, Misfits said this year we need to go to Worlds. Vitality, on the other hand, a bit of an underdog, but still, if you reach Worlds, this just means so much for them.
They're so close as well. Like, they win this game, they are in Worlds.
We'll be tracking all of that, so important this weekend, but as we prepare for 2 days filled with great moments from Madrid, we do also want to look back at last time the EU LCS came to this city. It was in spring 2015. The crowd was also electric, and we had a Unicorns of Love versus Fnatic final, which was pretty epic if I remember correctly.
It certainly was. There's also a couple of familiar faces in there, and some of them that we'll get to see once again this weekend. Hylissang and Vizichachi, both finalists in this weekend, and Kikis made it to, this was one of his first finals, I believe, on debuting with the LCS. He's achieved quite a lot over his history.
How many finals was Kikis?
Well, he won 2 with G2.
I believe he won 1 with G2.
One with G2. Yeah, he played one with the Unicorns of Love, and let's track it. A lot.
I want to stress that they actually lost back then, so they must have left with a bit of a bittersweet taste in their mouth, and I think they really want to come back and redeem themselves this weekend.
That they will. Chachi and Hylissang both playing tomorrow. I also want to call back to kind of that year of 2015. That was the Fnatic with Huni and Reignover winning their first title. They would go on to win a second, and a lot has changed since then. It was a very successful year in terms of World Championship. OG and Fnatic made it to the semi-final of Worlds, but after that, the G2 Nation attacked, and it was all G2 from there, Carlos.
I remember here watching exactly at this place, watching Fnatic versus Unicorns of Love. And by then, it was still called Gamers 2. Sorry for reminding everybody of the name. And things didn't go as well, you know. But watching this, you know, really inspired all of us. And then we came into the LCS, and the rest is history.
And you think of all of the amazing Spanish players that we've had over the years too. Expeke is one that many household names will know. Ocelote is another one. Who can think back to SK? But RNA is another one. And then Mithy too. The fact that he achieved so much on G2. He's now playing over with TSM. We have seen a lot of very impressive names coming out from the Spanish scene.
And there, who is that? What a throwback. SK Gaming with Ocelote. For newer viewers, Ocelote was of course a superstar mid laner of SK Gaming.
And
known for his scarves.
Yeah.
And sadly, many of these legends are not playing anymore. But we actually still have Spain representing in the EOSS and Sjokz on UOL. So even though
beast as well.
He is, I agree.
And an LVP as well.
LVP are considered one of the strongest European regions right now in terms of the domestic league, especially coming into the EU Masters. And the fact that we did see Mad Lions win with RNA as their coach last week.
By the way, those semifinals were really high.
Very high. It was a really good set of series. So props to them. We get to see them play soon.
Exactly. What I just tried to get at is that there is so much League of Legends history in Spain and in Madrid. So I'm very happy that we get to come back here.
And so much passion for the game.
That's what I love
most. You can feel it, right?
You can feel it so much.
It's in the blood of the Spanish people. But we'll have to track a lot more throughout the next 2 days. We will see the best players in Europe battling it out on the big stage. And here we want to look at some key duels for the finals weekend. We're going to start with Hansama versus Attila, who will be setting up later in this third place match of Vitality versus Misfits. Two very different, I think, AD carries from character, but maybe not necessarily on the Rift.
On the Rift, I think they're very similar. They play kind of the same style. They like to be very aggressive in the laning phase, and a lot of time draft for very strong laning phase. We see them both play the Draven, so they like to go forward and play aggressive.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
In terms of personality, Attila is very confident. He loves everyone to know how good he is as a player. And Hansama is quite the opposite. He's quite timid, he's quite patient, but you do not see that when you look at his play on the Rift.
Yeah. I remember the third game with from Hansama, Draven, against us.
Oh, yes.
Brings me nightmares.
Absolutely crazy. Attila, of course, is Portuguese, but he played in Spain with Giants, had a lot of success here, and quite considered this a second home crowd for himself. So he will definitely be fired up. I would like to move on to a couple of key matchups for tomorrow for the final. One of those is in the mid lane between Caps and Cho'gath. Since we have Ocelote here, who used to be a great mid laner, is still a great mid laner, sorry.
In our hearts.
No, let's be honest, I used to.
What do you think about this generation of mids and the new generation in Caps?
Well, first of all, Cho'gath has always been incredibly good and keeps being incredibly good, super solid. And then there's people like Perks, like Caps, which are, you know, it's just not written anywhere. They just play with their instincts, and they are typically right. They do things that you can't expect. And I expect the same thing to happen actually tomorrow from Caps.
And that's why for me this matchup is so exciting, because we have two different players. We have Cho'gath known for the intelligence, and Caps just does the most unexpected plays all the time, and that's what we love him for. So should be very exciting tomorrow.
Yeah, super. I think for Caps, it is now his second final. He played in Copenhagen. He's back in Cho'gath. It's been a while since he's been here. How do we think it's going to play out? In essence, is Caps just going to straight up beat him, or is Cho'gath maybe the only one that can put something against him?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult for Caps to just roll over Cho'gath. He is a very experienced player that understands his limitations, but at the same time, I think when you look at carry potential, Caps is definitely the favored in that matchup. So if Caps can be put into a situation where he is able to carry, he's definitely the one I'll keep my eyes on.
I think if the players have shown us anything so far is that it's so mid-focused, and it's not only about them, it's about how they are being enabled by their teammates, the jungle and support, so that's what I'm looking out for.
I'll put my head on fire and say that Cho'gath simply can't lose a lane. He really is that consistent.
Wow. Okay, we will track that tomorrow. That's a big one, and it would help them a lot in Schalke. The other matchup we need to talk about in the final, Reckless versus Upset, that Fnatic legendary AD carry superstar against the new prodigy, Upset, and possibly time for a changing of the guard.
You know, I love this matchup largely because at the beginning of the year, it was Reckless who said, after Sven's departure, I need a new rival, and I think Upset could be it. Now they meet in the final at long last. Everybody is praising how talented Upset is, and when it comes to these late game team fights, which we know it will tomorrow, it's going to be exciting to see who comes out on top.
Talking about damage down per minute, you can clearly see that Upset out-attacks a lot, which is like generally a good thing.
For an AD carry, that is a good thing.
And what I want to stress is if we look at the semifinals and we purely look on game impact, I think Upset had way more impact in their victories than Reckless had. I think Reckless honestly got carried by Caps in some of the games. So I think Upset right now has the ability to have more impact, but we will just see tomorrow.
Yeah, he also has that role on Schalke. He has been the guy in playoffs that even though his laning phase, it's not like he's stomping anyone in lane, but in the team fights, they are counting on him to get there. And that's why tomorrow, maybe it's Caps versus Upset and anything else.
It could very well be. That's why tomorrow's final is going to be an exciting one. It could be Fnatic securing their 7th title, or it could be a new title holder in EULCS.
Well, that brings us nicely to that main event tomorrow. Let's preview it as the reigning champions Fnatic will face off against Schalke in the EULCS Summer Final. There we go, we're already getting a little preview of the teams and of the cup, the trophy. Will it be the most successful team in EULCS history, Fnatic, or the newcomer Schalke, who tomorrow gets to lift that? Schalke is in the playoffs for the very first time, and it is really nicely, very impressive, I would want to say. I want to look for a stronger word. What they've done this year, coming into the spring split, not making playoffs, and then making it happen in summer.
Exactly that, because when you look at the history of Schalke, it's been a bit disappointing. You know, they set very high expectations, they fade multiple times, they even dropped down to the Challenger Series, but with a single change, by bringing in Amazing in the summer split, he revitalized this team and has now brought them to the finals.
And what I want to point out is he really brings stability to the team, leadership to the team, and then we see some of the star players like Nuktok and Upset really shine, and I think that's what Amazing really brought to this team.
And it's crazy also, it's always interesting to see those players who have been successful at one point in time, who kind of go down and need to find their form and then come back. To me, that is always incredibly impressive.
100%. And not only that, it's people that are not necessarily known for their mechanics, which means that they need to have something else that really differentiates them and makes them special. Mitty is another great example. He's just incredible. And he, doesn't have that kind of
What's
credit.
crazy to me is the fact that it's not more than a couple of months ago he was standing next to us here on the analyst desk, and just that transformation is insane to me.
He also spoke out on the fact that, whenever he doesn't want to do that, he felt like there was still some fight in him, and maybe we went like, yeah, we'll see. He proved it to everyone, and he can be the first player in history to win both NALCS and EULCS titles.
Who would have thought it was going to be him, huh?
Yeah,
there's still hope. There's still hope for some of the older players like myself, so.
Yeah. We will see. Well, Project Schalke is already a success, but they can top everything by winning tomorrow. And then Fnatic is looking for really the cherry on top of the cake. I think to say we didn't just win in Copenhagen, it wasn't a fluke. We are here to stay. They are, of course, already locked into Worlds.
Yes, they are kind of the fan favorites. Many expect them to get a pretty easy final tomorrow, based on what I've heard. I think it'll be a little bit more competitive, but the fact is, when you look at the performance of Caps and how Fnatic have looked over the last few weeks, they are looking like they're going to get themselves their 7th title.
It actually reminds me of the first year of G2 when Perkz was just going off. And it just doesn't matter what he was going to pick. You knew he was going to go off.
Yeah, Caps is the same. Just Vayne last week. Wukong on first in the split. We're looking forward to that. For now, though, moving on to a bit of fan favorites, because over the last week, we have given out Coach of the Split. We named our All-Pro team, but you guys at home, you fans, voted for your favorites in the EU LCS Awards. They are brand new. That is great. I feel like I'm at the Oscars. I've always wanted to be here, so let's get into it. Let's check out our winners, starting with a very honorable category, Best Meme of the Split. So let's go over the nominees. Today, they were nominees the last couple of weeks. They were Deficio's Year of the Duck, the fact that he was trying to push.
He always talked about it, non-stop.
The Schalke Hype Train. We also had G2's epic tweet about Reckless.
That was a good one.
Yep.
Saying,
Long day in the office, people. Long day in the office.
When he was in the pool. We also had two things from Mikyx. Jankos asking his team repeatedly, what is the secret? What is the secret? We never found out, and apparently it's also not in Madrid, but...
Oh my goodness. You did not need to do that, by the way. You did not need to do that.
I need to did it once.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll take it. I'll take it.
And then finally, Misfits also giving Alphari a really hard time in the mic check, saying top to bot, top to bot, top to bot. Alphari was super annoyed. All right, it is time to announce our winners of Meme of the Split. Year of the The drum roll is too loud, but the drum...
That is the worst drum sound. I'll be absolutely honest.
Yeah, you can do the next one. So, any case, Year of the Duck wins.
Congratulations.
Is it really a meme? He's in the final.
It could become real. Deficio is pretty proud of himself that he won something for a change.
Just self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it could very well be.
Maybe. Next award is for the biggest game changer of the split. This can be a big moment in-game, a play, a mechanical outplay, or a player itself. Let's take a look at the nominees. First up, vs.Chachi's Poppy Ultimate versus H2K. You guys remember he threw 3 or 4 people away from the Elder Dragon and they won the game.
Dirty play.
Dirty stuff. Then Mikyx, Rakan flank versus G2.
I don't like this one.
You don't like this one? Mikyx, who's been actually great the whole split.
Yep.
Kasing saving Kabi against Rakan.
The Kasave. He branded his own move.
And we said, oh, we've never seen that before. Maybe we haven't. It was sick. And then Vitality's White Knight. Kikis, in terms of a game changer, he is more the player that turned their split around.
The team changer.
Team changer, indeed. 4 formidable candidates, but the winner is... Do you want to do the honors? Vitality's Kikis as a game changer. You fans at home voted for him being the most important in that, and I think we can agree.
Yeah, the dude took the team from 5-5 to 11-1 in the second half of the split. They finished second during the regular season after some hard-fought tiebreakers, and while they weren't able to have the best performance in the semi-final, the reality is they should still be proud. The fact that Kikis just comes in and finds fantastic synergy with this Vitality squad.
I wonder whether Kikis did not have other replays than those where he was
versus
just
G2?
trashing.
No, he didn't.
I think those are the only one.
He was empowered to beat D2 after, you know,
we need an award for the worst drum sound, by the way.
The worst drum sound. Tomorrow. For now, though, over to perhaps the most prestigious awards that you guys voted for, the fan favorite of the split. We had 10 nominees, 1 from each team, but in the end, it was Fnatic's superstar, the man behind the famous Vayne mid lane pick that came out on top.
Actually, I think they'll blind TF, by the way.
They can even go TF against it, but they have
no, TF is not so good against the comp right now.
Yeah. Oh, Galio? Oh my Jesus. Dylan. Oh my Jesus. Dylan, we have to go Vayne.
No, we have to go Corki.
No, all of Galio. LCS, we're going Vayne, by the way.
Are you serious?
It's Trundle Vayne.
Shouldn't we just go Corki? But are you serious? Is it gonna win us the game?
Of course.
Like, look, there's gonna be a sign with 1,000,000 armor.
But he will die to my W instant. I'm saying, I trust you, Vayne. If you want to go Vayne, I really think we should just log in Vayne. Galio, are you in your range?
Yeah, I'm in range.
I go for Vayne. Look, Vayne! I think we might do it. I'm here. We win. Oh, smart man! Holy shit. Caps, I saw it. That was really sick. Holy poggers! I'm blocking, we win. You kill him, I think, and I kill this? Yeah, nice, guys. Oh, this play. What do you say, Dylan? What do you say? You think you're funny or what? You think you're funny?
Well, the fans think he's the fan favorite. I think we can agree. He's great on the Rift, and he's freaking funny in mic check.
I mean, whenever you run into this guy, he's just this goofy little guy, always with a grin on his face. I mean, it's so hard not to love him, honestly.
Yeah, that is true. I love that he also, I mean, in team dynamics-wise, see that, Dylan, to his coach. I mean, I maybe wouldn't be too happy with that.
He's definitely the alpha in that.
He was the alpha.
Kold, you were also in the running.
Yeah?
Yes?
I mean, so I don't... honestly, I can't believe that no one actually voted for me.
I voted for you.
I voted.
Yeah,
I gotta say, I voted for
Ocelote voted for you.
So you got 1.7% of the votes.
Better than 1.6%.
That's
way better. So much better.
3rd worst, but also 7th best.
7th. I will take 7th.
like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Good
Proud
job.
of you.
All right, moving on. One other thing. Since he played more than 3 games in spring, Bwipo wasn't eligible as a Rookie of the Summer split. However, we as a broadcast would like to give him the Most Outstanding Rookie award. Yeah, it was a bit difficult for him because he came in and he actually didn't play that many games.
Yeah, unfortunately for Bwipo, he was in a situation where he didn't quite qualify for a Rookie last split, and then because he played MSI and because he played so many games this split, he also couldn't be considered a rookie, but given his fantastic performance and what he achieved after spending such a little amount of time on Fnatic, we felt like he deserved something, so we created an award just for him giving him the Most Outstanding Rookie Award.
Yeah, congratulations, Bwipo. Well deserved.
I mean, what a player he has been, honestly. Coming in out of nowhere, honestly, and just show so much maturity on and off the Rift. And not only playing one role, but actually playing two roles. I think so impressive to me.
And if you're a fan, you're a League of Legends player just starting off, the first thing you see is somebody that came out of solo queue and took the reckless spot. There's nothing more aspirational and inspirational than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Bwipo, he took life by the momentum and rose up and was fantastic. For now, though, let's zone in and look ahead towards tonight's action. We are 9.5 minutes away for Vitality and Misfits facing off in the third place decider. First up, very good matchup, I would say, stylistically, a very interesting one, and two teams that have to do it now. They have to step up.
Yeah, because there is a lot on the line. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Both of them are fighting for a better chance of making it to Worlds. And when you kind of look at how they compete stylistically, it is very close. They both love early game aggression. They both like having strong bot lanes, and it's really impressive what they can.
Yeah, we'll also look at how exactly the implications are for both teams for Worlds. When we look at the championship points, Fnatic is already locked in Worlds. They can get first seed if they win tomorrow. And if they lose, they also have second seed. Misfits, however, doesn't have enough points, so is locked in the regional qualifier no matter what. However, if they win versus Vitality today, they can move up around and only have to play 2 best-of-5s in the regional qualifier.
Exactly that. They could avoid playing against Spice. They could go straight into round 2. That would also lock G2 into round 3. So Ocelote,
which is the most important.
Yeah, that would make Ocelote very happy, but obviously there are also even more implications in that shot.
Definitely so. So Vitality on stage today. They are still in the running for second seed to go to Worlds. They have to win today, and then they have to depend on Fnatic beating Schalke tomorrow. In that case, Vitality goes to Worlds as our second seed. However, if Vitality lose today, it means that Schalke is going to Worlds, then Fnatic is locked in and Schalke is locked in as so Europe's first and second seeds respectively. So there's a lot on the line also for Schalke, who are currently training. They're probably watching this very attentively.
We need that Twitch chat copy-paste thing of the Dorito.
Yeah.
Bring all the energy to Misfits. If you're a G2 fan, you want Misfits to win, because then we're directly the final boss of the count.
And Schalke also wants Misfits to win. We will keep track of that. Vitality, as said, a lot on the line for them. If we look at their 2018, they have had a big road behind them. They came in 2018 with 3 rookies and experienced talent, as well as Yamato as their coach, and they honestly grew steadily throughout the year.
Expectations were pretty low for this team coming into the spring split, given that they did have a lot of young, unknown talent. But they performed. They finished at extremely well. They ended at 4th place. They weren't quite able to find that 3rd place spot, but they were very competitive, and a lot of respect was shown towards this squad.
We're a very scary team.
I agree, and I think if you look at a team with built around 3 rookies, and you tell me that at the end of the year you are so close at reaching Worlds, I think that's just a success story in itself. So a lot of props to the whole staff and the whole organization of Attila to actually be successful in the split.
But they have to win here today to keep their chances on second seed most alive, also dependent on Fnatic win. And I think making your position better from in spring split for EU LCS, where they went to the 3rd place match, they had a lot of hype and they did not perform at all. For morale boost, it is important also that they win here today and show that they can do better. But for that, they will have to beat Misfits. Now, Misfits are looking to repeat their successes from 2017. If we recall back to that year, it was incredibly successful. The 1-year plan for Misfits panned out. They started by being 4th in the spring split, and it only went up from there.
It certainly did. They then made it to their finals in Paris last year of summer. They knocked out TSM in the group stages of Worlds. They took SKT to all 5 games, and you kind of look at this plan and you go, okay, these guys know what they're talking about. They put a plan in place and they panned it out, but their 2018 did not go the same way.
No, a huge disappointment, I think, so far from Misfits, but that is the beauty of the end of the season. They can turn it all around, Carlos. If they win here today, if they go to Worlds, it is all succeeded for Misfits, but they have to step up right now.
100%. Now is the moment. It's do or die. It's crunch time, and now is when these rookie players, you're gonna see whether you have the winners there, or you have kind of those that in pressure moments, don't deliver.
Yeah, you got to step up to the plate.
And when they went into this year, they wanted a more flexible roster. And I think even though we have seen glimpses of it, we saw in the start of the split, Sencux playing more aggressive champs like Aurelia and LeBlanc and such. And I think if you want to compete at the highest level, you need to be able to play this in a playoff setting, and we haven't seen that. And so that's what I'm looking for.
This is the biggest stage that they can play on. We are only 5 minutes away, so let's take a look at some key matchups. And I want to retake that AD carry matchup we talked about earlier, Attila versus Hans Sama. The fact that there are two players, and I think Attila, who came into 2018, everyone was talking about upset, about Sheriff, but it was Attila that dictated most of the AD carry in spring.
And while Attila and Vitality lost in the semifinal, they actually were winning the bot lane 3 out of 4 games.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to stress out, and I think it will be so crucial how the draft goes for these two guys because they play so heavily around winning their lanes.
And Hans Sama is also the big carry on Misfits, and we see when he dies often in those games, there isn't much that Misfits can fall back on.
Yeah,
Huge on their shoulders.
I feel like he's one of the singular win conditions that Misfits have. They prove they can't really play around their top side when he's on a carry, so it's pretty much all about Hans Sama and whether or not he can find leads in the early game.
And then we'll also see what the junglers do. That is the second matchup we want to look at. Kikis versus Maxlore, as said already. Kikis, he's back again at the top of EU LCS. No one knows how he does it, but he has been instrumental in Vitality's resurgence up versus Maxlore.
And the reason why this matchup is so important is because of their mid laners, because they play a more supportive style and support their junglers. So a lot of eyes on the junglers and what kind of counter picks they have and aggressive picks they can snowball the game with, because I think that will be what really decides the game.
I feel like that both junglers are big carry junglers too. We know that champions like Kindred are going to be extremely contested in this series. When we know that both of them like to build their own leads and be that big carry. So I'm excited to see who can find those leads and who can run away with them.
Yeah, even in the semi-final, Maxlore had a huge damage percentage. He was actually picking up a lot of the slack when it came to dealing the damage. So up versus Kikis should be an amazing matchup. So let's break it down to the keys of victory. Starting with Vitality. Kold, how does Vitality win here today?
I mean, we just said it, that you need to be able to pick these aggressive junglers. In that one victory in the semi-final, it was because of Kikis. He was playing the Kindred and playing aggressive, and he was enabled by his mid laner Jiizuke. So I think that's going to be crucial. And then obviously shutting down Misfits bot lane. I mean, you need to do something about it, because else they will just run away with the game.
The last time that they met, it was just a hard camp bot lane start for Vitality, and they just steamrolled over Misfits. So if they can replicate that, it's an easy way to find a couple wins.
Yeah, the crowd is getting in the mood. They have their lights on. Then let's talk about Misfits. Misfits, how do they win it here? How do they gain momentum going into the gauntlet and, well, get a success for their squad in front of this awesome crowd?
Well, they're kind of the opposite of Vitality, because they want to play through their bot lane, given that Hans Sama and Mikyx very often rely on getting an early snowball advantage. So I feel like that is going to be one of the big avenues with which Misfits find wins.
And on the other hand, I think you need to control Jiizuke. We saw in the semi-final that he was constantly roaming and giving leads to his teammates. And I think when you don't have as strong as a mid lane as he was facing in the semi-final, it's going to be crucial for them to be able to shut down Jiizuke when he's roaming.
What for you is the most important matchup, Carlos, today?
Jiizuke for me is the key. So jungle mid matchups and how they synergize this best of 5 is going to be key.
It is going to be key. Incredibly, incredibly important. We are getting very close to the opening ceremony. So let's take a look at those predictions. Our analysts talked about the players. They talked about the strengths and weaknesses, but who do they actually see winning? I think we need another drum roll because we don't see them yet. I'll start. I voted for Vitality. We'll see it in a second. Now, I think it's very close, and Misfits, to me, played phenomenally in Fnatic and against Fnatic, and maybe doesn't get enough credit for that. But the only way I can beat Vedius in Superior Analyst race is by picking Vitality. So I did it for the predictions. Oh my God.
Well, you're going to have to believe Sjokz, because but it's going to be a difficult fight, because you look back at their semi-final, Misfits had a very competitive series against Fnatic. I feel like it should have gone to all the way to Game 5, and I think that based on how they're currently playing, they look like the clear favorites, 3-0 for me.
So I think it's going to be a very close series, but I actually think Vitality will come out ahead, because I feel like there's more on the line for them, and they're more hungry to prove themselves today. And then when Vitality is successful, it's when they play against a team that doesn't play well around mid lane. And I think if there's one team that doesn't do that well, it's Misfits. So
both great points. So we're going to need Carlos to tell us it is a Misfits vote.
I believe it's a Misfits 3-1. I'm not the perfect kind of analyst for League of Legends nowadays, but I know enough to be able to say that I think the bot lane is going to be a big difference. And the only problem is maybe actually around the mid lane with Jiizuke. As long as he doesn't get too much ahead and roams too much and creates too much hassle.
And we're really hoping that either of these mid laners maybe show a more carry-oriented style, because it doesn't always just work to just go the supportive style that we have seen. So I want to see the two mid laners really show up today and and actually be a carry.
Yeah, it is up to both teams, up to all 10 players to step on the stage with momentum for Misfits to finally start turning their season around. This is their last chances. They are starting right now. For Vitality, again, if they win today and Fnatic wins tomorrow, they find themselves in Worlds. It is time to kick off finals weekend here in the Palacio Vista Alegre. Vitality and Misfits face off in the third place match.
Can he get it? Is he gonna get one more first blood? Look at this guy! A few more style points. This is a Draven unleashed upon G2.
I always learn from losses, and I just want to win everything.
For our sake, for our confidence, and for our redemption, we just want to win.
And there's the hammer shot. Gets him with the shield. The Captain America finish.
Double kill for Attila. That's a triple kill. He's looking for more. Look at Jiizuke, look at the cataclysm! There's a flash torn upside! Cabochard runs down Nuke.
Every time I'm on the stage, everything that I say, everything that I do is because I really want to win it.
We're going to try everything in our power to make the Worlds, otherwise this was just a wasted year for all of us.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estáis? Bienvenidos a las finales aquí en Madrid, en el Palacio Vista Alegre. Tenemos ya los equipos preparados y el primer equipo es Misfits. En la top lane, Alphari. En la jungla, Maxlore. En la calle central, Sencux. En la posición de AD Carry, Ansama. Como support, Mikyx. Y como entrenador, Usain Mosby. Pero tienen un rival, y el rival es Team Vitality. En la top lane, Cabochard. En la jungla, Kikis. En la calle central, Jiizuke. En la posición de AD Carry, Attila. Como support, Jactroll. Y como entrenador, el guapísimo Yamato Canon. Todo preparado, disfruten de este tercer y cuarto puesto. Misfits contra Vitality, adiós.
Muy
Muchos gracias, Ibai, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined by Martin Deficio and Christy Ender Frierson. Gentlemen, there's a lot of volume in this crowd already, but they took the roof off for Hansama.
Yeah, they absolutely lost their minds. They're excited. I'm excited. This match, stakes behind it. These teams' Vitality with a chance to go to Worlds on the line. It doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, just to make it clear, if Vitality win today and Fnatic wins tomorrow, then Vitality will get the 2nd seed and go to Worlds. So there's so much on the line for them. Where Misfits, they're playing for better seeding in the gauntlet.
Yes, and of course, if you're a Schalke fan, you want Misfits to win because that means Schalke goes to Worlds as well. We're getting ourselves ready for picks and bans for Game 1 in our 3rd place decider. Now, gentlemen, I want to start talking about the junglers. When we look back to the semi-finals, we saw an Ivern from Maxlore. We saw a pivot from Kikis going towards those marksmen. And I'm going to start with you, Ender. Let's talk a little bit about these players as we see the Misfits logo up on stage. Let's talk about the junglers and the impact they're going to have in this best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Vitality and Kikis, this player came in and transformed this roster. He started with an aggressive playstyle, invading a lot of early game ganks, and when he's on a champion that can deal damage, that's really when I feel like Vitality looks strongest.
100%, especially because they like to play around these very early games with a lot of action, very fast pace, a lot of focus on trying to actually fight the enemy team. Luckily, on the other side with Maxlore, when he's not on Ivern, also wants to fight because he's shown us some very aggressive picks here in the semi-final.
It was such a good recovery there from the mascot, and we need to see a recovery.
I tried to ignore that so the viewers didn't notice.
Deficio, it's an analogy of the Misfits season. After not making playoffs in spring, to being in the 3rd place decider and getting that optimal seeding in the regional qualifier as much as is possible to them, there is a lot on the line for Misfits. They have to show the world that the quarterfinal team from last year is still competitive here.
And even the quarterfinal team from this year, because they 3-0'd G2, they looked like that undefeated roster at the start of the summer split. And then against Fnatic, they almost took that team down, right? They were in a situation where they were almost 2-1 up in the semifinals and could have easily been playing tomorrow for it all.
All right, we've talked a little bit about the players, some of the stakes, as well as the stories. I want you boys to go on record now. Let's pick some specific champions that you A, expect to see, and or B, know you're going to see. Deficio, where do you think these teams are going to prioritize their bans coming into Game 1?
Well, we know that both teams will value trying to get superior jungle matchup and get the strongest 2v2 bot lane possible. It's really the 2 ways they are actually trying to draft and win games. So Vitality have selected red side in the first one. I don't think necessarily on their side they have to show too much in the first rotation, as long as they Kikis a winning matchup.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Get a jungler that can play hard in this early game, and it's going to all come down to this, Quickshot.
It really will. I love seeing that Urgon ban from anybody that watched LCK Finals earlier today. It was the #1 priority pick, and it's taken off the table. You can also see Maxlore's jungle picks from the semifinals.
Now, here's the thing. In the semifinals, Maxlore started off on this super supportive style with the Ivern. It didn't work for him, but then Misfits pivoted. They put him on early game playmakers that could deal damage, like the Olaf, the Xin, the Kindred. This is what I sort of expect to see out of Misfits, because they found their identity later in the series, almost too late to get the win.
And now while we talked a lot about junglers, there is one mid lane pick I want to mention. It is the Ryze, which has been the go-to carry for Jiizuke. If he's not on a normal traditional roaming pick, Ryze is the one for him.
Now, I'd say Rakan has been banned in every single game of playoffs against Mikyx. As soon as Vitality leave that open, you know they're going to lock this champion in. He has been such an insane playmaker and was the big reason why they won so many games at the start of the split.
So what are they trading for the Rakan? Knowing it's going to get locked in. What have they prepared? Leona against Rakan coming into bottom lane from Jactroll. One of the supports who's not afraid of pulling out some special picks.
Look, this is a pick that does so well into the Rakan because we know this champion's squishy, even squishier on patch 8.16 after some nerfs. So the lockdown of a Leona along with an Ezreal early on could be the tool to try and shut down Mikyx.
I am a little bit surprised with the Ezreal, knowing the bot lane of Vitality. I would have been like, they're going to go Varus with this Leona here. Just like all in level 2, go level 3, go level 4, and just keep killing them. But Xayah Rakan, no surprise once you have the Rakan already on the side of Misfits. You gotta be careful before you get level 6 on this Xayah here, because you are a target for Leona.
I cannot wait to see how Jactroll pulls this one out. Of course, remember last year, Misfits pulled out that Leona at Worlds. It's a long time ago. Gentlemen, the two 100% presence picks in playoffs was Akali and Braum. Akali had 15 bans, goes unpicked with Sencux and Jiizuke, and of course that Braum not going to be possible this time around.
Akali was banned in every single game so far when Misfits and Vitality played in playoffs, and they were the ones banning it every single time. So we don't expect it to be a huge pick in this series unless one of the mid laners will surprise us.
Yeah, but we don't expect the surprise because these players play to sort of enable their team. For Sencux, it was about the Lulu in the semifinals. For Jiizuke, he's always been on these roaming champions like the Ryze you mentioned, but the Galio has been a consistent pick that if it's not banned away, you expect him to go for to support Kikis, who's now on this Kindred.
There's the Ryze ban mentioned much earlier as kind of the key champ for Jiizuke. He's going to be a big damage dealer on the side of Vitality. Now, what they like to do is they grab the bot lane and the jungle pick in the first phase, and then they take top lane and mid lane in the second phase. And while Vitality typically have tried to draft a tank top lane, Cabochard is the player who has 10 million counter picks ready, so they can wait with his pick, but they already know it's against the Cho'gath.
Yeah, I feel like you take the top lane right now. The Sion will be the choice for Cabochard, and now there's no shenanigans. We know that, you know, Sencux can play things like the Twisted Fate. I think that actually could be a really strong champion for him, but now Jiizuke is going to have the chance to sit back and have the perfect matchup in this game.
And according to the picks we just showed there from Jiizuke, the only one left is the Attila pick. Now, he is last picking, so it is an option for him. When he blind picked it, he got shot down hard. Sencux going right back to supportive style, and we get a carry jungler from Maxlore. This is exactly what Misfits did in the semifinal. Now, Jiizuke, are you picking a roaming champion, or are you trying to beat Sencux in the mid lane?
I think if you take the Syndra, you're definitely looking to beat him in the mid lane. And actually, if you take a damage-oriented mid laner against something like the Lulu, you can try to maybe bully that around, win those 2 versus 2s, because you're going to bring more flat damage to the table. And with a pick like the Syndra, the aggression out of this bottom lane as well, this is a team comp in very Vitality style that's going to try to run you over in the mid game.
First time Syndra for Jiizuke. Deficio, I didn't know how to read that all. What do you think of the team composition from Vitality?
When I saw the Leona bot lane, it screamed to me they would get a mid lane pick like a Attila that could just go bot lane non-stop and play around this aggressive engage support, but instead they're valuing what they can try and do in the 1v1 mid lane. Now, Lulu is not a bad laner by any means, but level 6 Syndra with a jungler there is one of the strongest skirmish mid laners we will get. There's a chance Vitality will start focusing the ganks around mid lane for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it's true, because they usually don't gank mid lane with just Kikis, but they will bring Cabochard to the party. When he was playing the Kled up against Schalke just last week, he ran it straight down mid. They looked for the kills. The Sion is a champion that can do very similar things and roam with the ultimate to set up for a potential Jiizuke carry here in Madrid.
Potential Jiizuke carry. Let's see if he can redeem some of the playoff performances of the 2018 season. The team compositions are on your screens. And of course, the votes have already been locked in. I'm taking a look at some of those keystones. And Ender, is that a Dark Harvest that I see?
Yeah, it's a Dark Harvest for the Graves here. I love it because after the Electrocute nerfs, junglers, you don't actually lose out on that much damage early on with the Dark Harvest. Maxlore is going to look to get those stacks, scale up, and one-shot people later on into the game.
A lot of pressure on the shoulders of Misfits and Vitality for Vitality fighting for an improvement in spring. They took 4th place. And they want to
fighting for worlds, man.
Yeah, today. Improve on their local performance and then take it to the World Championships. Deficio playing here in the Palacio Vistalegre in Madrid, which is a special place for Attila as well. And I love hearing that roar. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for the finals weekend here in Spain. And we're off to a big one. So, Ender, Talk us through the early opening phases of this game. It's a slightly different draft to what we've been seeing throughout the playoffs. Where do you expect the action to happen?
I'm expecting the action to happen between these two junglers. Maybe it's going to be fighting over a Scuttle Crab, but specifically, I give the edge here to Vitality. Notice that Jiizuke is walking into lane with that red sweeper, so if he can actually clear out a ward here before minions spawn, he's going to get the earlier level 2 and be able to help Kikis out if a skirmish breaks out.
Yeah, and that's kind of the awesome thing here. We're going to have the jungle matchup, as Ender just talked about, but we're also going to look towards Jiizuke on Syndra and Jactroll on Leona. They gave away Mikyx Rakan, perma-banned so far in playoffs, and now we need to see if this pick can actually do something.
But the junglers, this is really what it all comes down to. Again, these are two junglers that are just the backbones of these teams. So good against the rest of the competition. For Kikis, it was him coming into this Vitality team, giving them that push to finish second in the regular season. And for Maxlore, when he's on his game, when he's playing around the bottom half of the map, that is how Misfits win their games.
Yeah, and a really interesting thing about our top 4 teams here in Europe is 2 of the teams have greedy junglers. They play for themselves. They want to be fed. They want to be the carries. That's Maxlore and Kikis facing each other today. The more supportive junglers, that's Broxah and Amazing, who's playing tomorrow. So it's going to be a battle of who can actually carry the hardest when you're playing for yourself as a jungler here.
I absolutely love that. These mini titles, mini bragging rights battles where junglers of somewhat similar styles can go in for one another. Now, Kikis has an opportunity to get in behind Hansama and Mickey. Flashes are available. The Zenith Blade manages to catch Hansama. Battle Dance comes back out, and there's the flash already. End up trading 80 carry flash for support.
Brilliant trade there from Vitality, and we know the last time these teams faced, these teams clashed, it was Kikis hard camping bottom lane that shut down Hansama and netted Vitality the win. We're started off very similar already.
Exactly, and the reason for that strategy from Vitality and why it was so successful is because when Misfits bot lane falls behind, the team falls apart. They simply can't play the game without a lead on Hansama and without Mickey in a position where he can start fights because he's an aggressive support. He wants to be a playmaker. And being a playmaker when behind is very, very difficult.
Yeah, and that's why I almost want to see here, does Maxlore make his way towards the bottom half of the map? Because right now, Vitality, Attila and Jactroll are pushing, but without a flash on Leona, there is potential to try and lock him down.
He's going to go bot lane because his camps are up and he's going to farm his own camp, so he's going to feel nice. I don't know if he's actually going to dare gank anything here in the early game. Could look for something. Jiizuke is fairly low around mid, and Jactroll is pushing without flash. So there's 2 openings, mid or bot lane for Maxlore.
Yeah, and of course, I want to keep my eyes on that Mickey storyline that you were talking about, Ender. This Rakan has been banned all tournament long. Just talking about that positioning from Maxlore Deficio. You can see him clearing out the camps. A couple of pings on some of the wards down on the Vitality side. Opening few minutes, nobody has conceded a kill yet, despite the fact that Kikis had a successful gank, showed up at the right time, and was able to get that flash from Hansama.
And you know, typically when you see 2 marksman junglers playing against each other, they're not the greatest early game ganks. They don't bring a lot of CC to the table, so you expect it to be a little bit slower. So the fact that Kikis got a flash around the bottom lane, I don't think is too worrisome, because it will be difficult to repeat that and actually punish the lack of summoner from Hansama.
Yeah, you can see the ward in the lane brush placed by Misfits, because they know Jactroll is going to sit there, and the way for him to engage now is without flash is obviously landing his E, get onto Hansama, who doesn't have ulti this early in the game, but when the lane is warded, or the brush is warded, they see him, they can just sidestep.
Now, if we're looking forward to the next engagement, 20 seconds top lane river. That's when the Scuttle Crab spawns. Both junglers are already positioned around the area. And with Jiizuke this low, they're going to look for a play.
Oh, take a look at that. Scatter the Week comes in. Jiizuke's out of mana, though. Very defensive flash from Kikis.
That was very early, but we got to remember he had no vision because he got smoke bombed, so he didn't actually know 100% what was going on around him.
Oh, Zenith Blade misses. Remember, Jactroll's got no flash available. Knocked up into the air by Mickey. Rooted down by Hansama. Attila's got a lot of damage onto Mickey, though, and turns the damage back into Misfits.
I'm very glad that this start is action-packed. That's what we promised the viewers when it's Misfits versus Vitality. It's 2 early game focused teams. We've already had 3 different fights.
And it's plays around the bottom lane, too. They're going to continue to search. Now, of course, Maxlore did get control over the top side, but Jiizuke, low mana, low health, and he's on top of a ward.
Oh, take a look at this. Jiizuke's now going to try get away. Has flash and heal available to him if it's needed, but I'm holding on to that thought for now. Jactroll is now going to be the target of Mikyx. No, turns it back around. Hansama's caught out. Jactroll's going low, caught out. First blood picked up by Misfits.
Big mistake there from Jactroll to go for the engage. Now Maxlore is on the way as well. Misfits crush the 2v2 down bot.
Oh, Maxlore. Attila still with flash. He should be able to just get out, but they can push the lane here. Jiizuke, meanwhile, managed to walk away in the river. Mainly actually because Vitality had pushed in bot lane, but that push then resulted in a fight that Jactroll really didn't want to take. So far, the Leona, not successful.
Yeah, he thought he could turn it around, but just took way too much damage. We're going to get one more look at it, because again, there's no flash on Hansama, so Jactroll thinks he can go straight back and turn it around, but there's minions blocking the Qs from Attila. That makes it so easy for Hansama to turn it straight back onto the Leona.
Also, that Ignite, it just came up once he jumped into the fight, and Hansama had used heal, so he couldn't actually properly try and nuke someone down. Defensive summoners from Hansama, that's enough. Jactroll's around mid, will be spotted by this ward here.
Yeah, stood right on top of that ward, and for Vitality, another early game sort of misplay. We take a look at some of their early game stats from the regular season, week 6 through 9, when Kikis joined the squad, and then in the semi-finals, and there was quite a stark difference in their performance.
There absolutely was. Of course, when Vitality are able to crush through early games like they did in the later half of the season, they won all of their games. They dropped one against Sjokz, and that was it. But then, in the semi-finals, they weren't able to have that same impact early on. You'll notice actually a gold deficit at 15, which is just uncharacteristic for this squad.
Yeah, and I think a large problem for Vitality was actually some of the drafts they had prepared during the 2 weeks they were waiting for that semi-final. They were very focused on one way to win the game, and if that one way backfired, mainly in the early game, could be like the bot lane didn't win hard enough, or Kikis didn't succeed in shutting down the enemy jungler, then suddenly the composition just didn't work. Now with this Leona pick here and giving over Xayah Rakan, they're once again saying, we will gamble in the draft. It's not working yet. Let's see what happens mid.
Here comes Mikyx, looking for the knockup, manages to find Jiizuke. The Wild Growth throws him up again. Lamb's Respite's going to buy so much time for Vitality to escape. But Jiizuke under a lot of pressure from Misfits.
But he holds on to the flash. That's the important one right there. And he continues to dominate in this mid lane. Even after continued ganks from Maxlore and the rest of the team, he's been able to build up a massive lead up against Sencux.
You can see that 14 CS already. Sencux has gone back to pick up those Merc Treads, Exalt Shoes for Jiizuke at 8 minutes. 700 gold up for the Misfits squad. And there's a lot of tension and energy, despite it only being 8 minutes in. Multiple attempted ganks, multiple roams, and Maxlore and Mikyx, they've got themselves a potential here onto Attila. Attila's already used the Arcane Shift. There goes Mikyx in for the dive. Hits some damage onto Jactroll, but it was optimistic. They got the flash at least.
This is especially important to get that flash, though, because Mikyx is going to hit level 6 very soon. That's when there's kill threat in this lane, and an Ezreal without the flash is going to be a target they can look for.
Yeah, and that's kind of the key thing when you play against Leona. You're mainly scared of her in the early game. Like, during the laning phase is where her all-in potential with Ignite is actually enough to kill almost every single bot lane you're going to face. But because Jactroll died with the second fight they had on the bottom side, because now they've forced a flash from Attila and the Ezreal is not too scary sitting on a tier, well, you're kind of past the hard part of this lane if you're Misfits, and your Xayah Rakan lane is only getting stronger.
Yeah, you never want to give Hansama kills in the early game, because this has been, for a long time, one of the best AD carry players we have in the league. Him and Mikyx, I still think, are the best 2v2 duo here in Europe, and Misfits are so prepared in this series to continue to play around and support them.
Now they're looking to force them away here. Jactroll, no level 6 on his side. Attila, no flash. And Mikyx, he's ready. Needs a couple of seconds on his own flash there, but just have ult. He wants to just get a bit of damage, chipping away. Don't want to go for too much. Cabochard is roaming down, though.
All right, first time we're really seeing the top laners getting involved just yet. Neither of them have their teleports. Alphari and Cabo both on cooldown for now.
Let's see if they actually engage onto Mikyx, because he can't really save himself once he gets stunned. Hansama with ulti, if he's quick, can use it to dodge the initial all-in. Jactroll level 6 got hit now, so they time it with the wave.
This is so ambitious, though, because right now Kikis is actually counter-jungling on the top side of the map, so we're in this situation where Vitality are looking to force a play in an area where Kikis is just not grouped up, ready with the rest of the team.
Yeah, very true. So they couldn't go for tower dive, which is why they ended up walking away, because the Misfits bot lane respected, hey, Sion has gone back to base. There is a chance he's coming to the bottom lane. So good call on Misfits' side. And because Vitality didn't have Kikis down here, well, they couldn't actually go for an all-in.
Gentlemen, I'm seeing a very common trend this game. Misfits looking bottom, sniffing, not finding an opportunity. Vitality looking bottom, not finding an opportunity. Right now, Maxlore will find some damage onto Jiizuke. And I think one of the reasons that bottom lane matchup has been so impactful, and one of the things we're talking about, is Hans Sama versus Attila. We talked about the value they have for their teams. You can see their CSD numbers from playoffs, their damage percentages for the respective teams, and both of these guys really lead their squads when it comes to winning games.
And it's so clear that Misfits look to play around Hans Sama too, because he averages almost 10 CS up at 15. He's invested so much gold by the rest of the team that this really is the true carry, and especially when you have a player like Sencux taking a backseat on something like the Lulu, once we get past 15, 20 minutes, you know they're going to give as many minions and resources as possible to Hans Sama.
Let's see around the mid lane. Jiizuke, no flash!
Oh, there's the engage. Mikyx catches onto Jiizuke. He's simply blown up. Kikis is late on the trigger. Lamb's Respite does not buy enough time. Now, the Glitter Lance will slow down Jactroll. Misfits decide to peel down bottom. Attila, you're on the wrong side of the rift, buddy. He's going to arcane shift forward, and Hans Sama's going to solo him out. 1v1. Someone he'll buy some time. Not done yet. Attila goes down to Hans Sama.
The ward in the bush keeps Hans Sama locked and loaded onto Attila. He picks up the kill 1v1 against his rival.
And so many things that is going so well for Misfits. They managed to survive in the bottom lane the first few levels. They have Maxlore forcing flash in mid lane from Jiizuke, so now they can go for a follow-up play around the mid lane, and Kikis did not get in range in time. He did not want to flash ult to try and save his mid laner, and now we have kills. Drakes, and Maxlore, he gets his camps.
Look, we knew this battle was going to be about the early game. Both these teams, if they win in the first 15 minutes, they usually end up cleaning house and winning the game. Right now, it's Misfits making all the proactive calls. Every single play seems to be working, and it's right after they got the flash off Jiizuke, they can immediately find the engage and blow him up.
Simply nothing Jiizuke can do once the flash is gone. Attila expecting Hans Sama to have left the bottom lane. But then when he just walks straight back, you suddenly get caught, and even if he does manage to pick up a kill here, he will just die because the rest of Misfits could move down and kill him, but they trust Hans Sama could finish it.
Hans Sama auto attacks is doing more than Attila's at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hype that 1v1.
Yeah.
It's like he just kept auto attacking.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for trying though, Deficio. Scan of the week manages to catch out Mikyx. Whoa, the Zenith Blade pulls him all the way forward.
TP behind.
Teleport is coming in from Alphari, instantly cancelled though. Vitality with the first kill of the game at 13 minutes.
Exactly, that's what they need. Concise, group together, and force plays around this middle lane. It's a perfect little package here of Vitality that they work in every single game.
And very important for Jactroll that he's actually setting up a play here in this game. It's been a rough start for him on the Leona pick. They put a lot of trust on him in the semifinal, giving him a Poppy support. That didn't work either, but now he's part of something for Vitality. Let's see if we get another fight.
All right, taking a look at this. Mikyx very far away. It's a fight over the Herald. And all of a sudden, that flashes over the wall. 1, 2, 3. Vitality make it out. And it was, in fact, picked up by Maxlore. Misfits get it. The fight's not done yet. Here comes Mikyx, throwing down the quickness. He needs to find a target. Does not do it. That's a route to the kill into Jactroll. Misfits find their 4th kill. Now Kikis joins the fray. Mikyx blown up. Misfits didn't back away. Teleport coming down for Vitality, and Cabo decides to cancel.
Yeah, he cancels it because Misfits just destroyed Vitality in the pit. They had just gotten a pick. Vitality had the tempo lead, but it took too long to take down the Herald. Misfits came up huge, and Maxlore secured the Herald.
Oh yeah, he blinded everyone on the side of Vitality. Took away everything they've just been trying to take down. Hans Sama once again trying to 1v1 Attila. This time Attila has a way out.
Now, looking at these two junglers, we had such a focus on them early on. Kindred, you know, obviously has those stacks. You want to get those stacks. Sitting on 0 at the moment. Maxlore is shutting them down. Actually blinds Kikis, so he can't get the smite on the objective. So well played by Maxlore, and then they turn it right back around.
Yeah, Jiizuke is trying right here, but the moment he sees Mikyx, he's scared. He knows he can engage onto him. There's still no flash on the Syndra, so he needs to run. And while Jactroll ends up getting caught out, Mikyx sadly finds himself too far forward. 1-for-1 trade. Rift held, however, going to Misfits. Have not placed it yet. Maxlore is just doing his Raptor camp. Will trap in the top lane.
Let's take a look at this. There's no quickness available for Mikyx. Still has access to that grand entrance. No flash for Jactroll either. Keeping an eye on this mini-map. Level 7, level 9. Hans Sama and Mikyx, they're now deciding to push forward. Jactroll
Such a
holds on to
tease.
Solar Flares.
What an insane play.
I'm literally buying time with the commentary in case a fight breaks out. 6 kills at 15 minutes. Misfits maintain a 1,300 gold lead. And despite some good early plays, Vitality have struck back just a little.
They have struck back, but they're still down. They're going to need to build up more of a lead as Maxlore finds his way into the bottom lane, but obviously not going to be able to lock down this Sion. Cabochard does get out.
Well, it's not done yet. The fight that I wanted a moment or two ago is happening. Jactroll is rooted. Hansama is obliterating his HP. Featherstorm flying in the air. And Hansama's on a killing spree. 3-0-1 in Madrid.
And we saw Vitality go for this Leona pick to counter out the Rakan, but it's such a binary champion. When you start losing, all you can do is go in, but you're not strong enough to actually go for those types of plays.
Yeah, we saw the entire plan around it. They knew Rakan would be first picked. So they level 2 gank bot lane with the Kindred, with the Leona sitting there trying to set up the play, but they didn't secure a first blood with it. And then later, we had that 2v2 fight where Jactroll ended up dying, giving a first kill over to Hansama. And that's kind of the big problem. Jiizuke has actually done well in terms of farm in his lane. The top lane tanks obviously just farming against each other. This was the lane they really needed to win. And that's the one they're currently losing in.
Yeah, Vitality were playing pretty passively here, actually, but they don't have anyone else to try and back them up. And without a flash on Jactroll, the second he gets CC'd up, there's really no chance on Hansama even using his own ultimate to dodge away from the stun and secure the kill.
Still trying to see around Syndra here. The problem for Jiizuke is Sencux, he's done his job. He hasn't died. He's gonna build a Luden's Echo, then he's gonna build an Ardent Center, he's gonna put it on his 3-0-80 carry, and he's gonna sit back and say, well, my job here is done. I'm just boosting up Hansama, or maybe Maxlore. It's Jiizuke who needs to get kills if he wants to carry the game.
Yeah, now I do have some good news. Kikis just got his first mark of this game on the Kindred, so he's finally starting that stacking. Of course, Maxlore at the same time doing stacking of his own here with the Dark Harvest up to 68. Now the magic number is 150. That's when you keep that soul on you.
Oh,
it didn't hit him.
So close to interrupting that Rift Herald. Sorry to interrupt there, but with Tower first blood in the top lane, Misfits now have a 3,000 gold lead. They have Shelly in the mid lane that can help this potential siege, but it looks like Vitality are nearby to defend, and the Rift Herald is somewhat wasted, obviously timing out just as Maxlore was starting that up.
Yeah, they didn't want to put it bottom lane, I guess, because Alphari would just get this turret on his own, very soon at least. Another minion wave being pushed in towards it. Cabochard knows that if he stays in this 1v1 lane, he can't actually help his team. And his team really needs him because he's going to be the big frontline tank. This Leona is very squishy. She can't do it. Sion has to be there for them to win fights.
Yeah, and actually for Vitality, usually in the mid-game, the way they do force is with Cabochard rotating. He's usually on these champions that can hard engage from pretty far away, like the Jarvans, the Kleds, or in this case, obviously, the Sion. So if Vitality are going to try and group up and make plays, it will be off the back of him. They just have to choose their battles very wisely because they are down at the moment.
Well, 2 item spikes starting to come in for the AD carries. The Iceborne Gauntlet there for Attila as well as Mirror Mana. Luden's Echo picked up for both respective mid laners, but Hansama is where my eyes are. He's got that Storm Raider Razor. He's got the Rapid Fire Cannon. Already plus 25 CS, 301 in the battle of these AD carries. One of the matchups that the analyst desk was talking about that we were expecting to be a pivotal factor. This is exactly what Misfits wanted to do and who they wanted to get ahead.
Let's see around the mid lane. I see a lot of members from Vitality moving down to bottom side.
All right, Mikyx in a lot of trouble, but take a look at that. The combination of Xayah and Rakan means Mikyx stays alive. Featherstorms come out. Hansama's got the ability to root some people down. Manages to lock in Cabo. Now Hansama flashes for his life. Mikyx buys enough time for the rest of Misfits.
They got him! Oh my god!
They are still not dead!
What?
Mikyx and Hansama finally go down. It's a double kill for Jiizuke, but Alphari's in the fight. He's already taken him out. They've turned it around and Vitality pushing for the tower.
Misfits just pulled off a 3v5 while the rest of their team, Maxlore and Sencux, are hard shoving in the mid lane. They've already gotten one. They're looking for a second turret.
Oh my god. Maxlore, Sencux gets another one. And Mikyx on this Rakan in the bottom lane. What a play from him.
This is exactly why Rakan has been banned every other game against Misfits.
He will never get to play this champion again. This is going to be banned in every single game following in this series. He stayed alive for so long, abusing the extra range you get to try and jump towards your Xayah. So well done.
But once we get the replay here, we just got to see the whole setup on the side of Vitality when they're trying to tower dive. A lot of things went wrong, and they were also kind of hesitating not 100% knowing if they should actually do it, despite two Misfits players still being around the mid lane. But for now, it is still just Misfits looking towards vision around Baron.
Not going to find it just yet. We saw the drop down just a moment ago, gentlemen. When Vitality are behind at 20 minutes, they are 0-6. Now the pressure is still on in the middle lane. As Misfits, they've established all of that vision in the top outer quadrant. They have 4 towers secured already, a 5,000 gold lead, and Misfits are poised to completely solidify their control of this game.
Don't get me wrong, Misfits are miles ahead at the moment, but usually Vitality don't draft ways back into the game. Let's look at this one more time.
It's 5 Vitality players on the way to the bottom lane. Jactroll has ulti right now, and he can try and use it early. He doesn't want to do that because of flashes. Then he tries to stun the turret with the ulti. That doesn't do anything for his team. And now Mikyx, because he stayed alive and saved the flash, he can use it aggressively to now save his AD carry.
Such a fantastic performance coming out of Misfits. And of course, that replay brought to you by Acer Predator. They managed to stay alive. The cross map is something else that was very impressive. Maxlore, with the help of Sencux, I think it was, shoving down that mid tower, maintaining control of the map, maintaining awareness of where they can get advantage.
Now, before the replay, I was trying to bring up the fact that Vitality actually have ways back into this game, it feels like. Usually, they've got a lot more melee champions. They don't have the late game DPS, but on a pick like the Kindred, Kikis definitely has options later on.
And talking about that Kindred, you see just how troublesome Maxlore's Grave smokescreen becomes. There was a lot of damage thrown down on the Sencux, and Kikis instantly interrupted by that smokescreen.
Exactly, and that's really why for Vitality to get back in the game, they have to catch a target. If they try in a pure 5-on-5 and burn down one player, Sencux is there on the Lulu to just shield and wild growth this target here. And when you then blow everything on one guy, Mikyx will engage onto you, and Hansam and Maxlore can deal enough damage to kill you. So this is what they're trying to do. This is a correct play. Try and catch people while they're not sitting next to the Lulu.
Now, what I want to see from Vitality in order to set up for these picks is deeper vision, because this is actually a weakness of the team where a lot of times they just look to force plays without the proper setup beforehand. So I like the fact there are now some wards in Misfits territory, and that will inform them of which fights they can actually go for.
Well, we'll see whether or not they can make use of that information, because for Vitality trying to set up that Jactroll ultimate play, the Solar Flare is around 1 minute and 15 seconds between cooldowns right now. He's currently only level 11, but look at the vision the Misfits have established. They are pushing it deeper and deeper into Vitality's territory, and Deficio, they're setting up very clearly for some plays around Baron.
Yeah, they've actually shown us here in playoffs some better Baron setups than we saw in the regular season, where there was a huge problem for Misfits. Now they're looking for kills.
All right, Kikis with that Dance of Arrows able to escape from Mickey's quickness. No further follow-up. True Shot Barrage actually catches 2 of 4 on the way back up. But Vitality, it's 4,000 gold in the deficit. Cabochard is uncontested in the bottom lane, and this will be the second tower for Vitality.
Yeah, right now Misfits grouped up because they don't have teleport where Cabochard does. So this is actually really good from Vitality to try and claw back in the gold just a little bit. And now they'll actually be the ones with a little bit of priority here where they can put down some vision around this Baron as soon as they see Alphari down bottom lane to pick up this wave.
Everything is still in the favor of Misfits. And nothing right now is in favor of Jactroll on the Leona. All the eyes on him. At this point in the game, especially because he's this far down, everything he brings is the ulti, one all-in where he stuns a target, and then he dies. Let's see if they can use it. They're starting Baron. It is in vision because of the Rift Scuttler here.
All right, they're going to peel away just a moment or two after starting it. Alphari doesn't have teleport available to him. And the rest of Vitality, they are in fact grouped in this top quadrant now. There's been enough time for Misfits to group up and get closer together. Alphari and Sencux making their way up. And Kikis looking for an opportunity. Deficio, you can just feel Vitality, they're looking for a fight. They're looking for a way to use the engage they have.
Exactly. They know they need to force this pick here. It's so hard if it's just a pure 5-on-5 where all of Misfits are together, where Sencux can buff up one of his range carries. Oh, Jactrolls, look how squishy this guy is.
Every single time Mikyx steps forward, I'm waiting for some sort of engage. The quickness is a couple seconds away, and Mikyx has flash available to him, so Misfits, they can turn the trigger on, and they're going to do it on Attila. Hansama already has a crit to his name. Summon a heal, used by Attila. Summon a flash, used by Attila. And Hansama, with the help of Mikyx, take him down.
Hansama does so much damage right now, and he doesn't even have the Infinity Edge just yet. Right now, Vitality have control over the mid lane, so they're still set up well around this Baron buff, but Misfits are working as a 5-man unit to look for kills.
This is a temporary 4v4. Sencux will be coming in from the south. He's now managed to make it to the team, and Kikis almost gets 2 shot. He's knocked up into the air. Lamb's Respite will simply not be enough. Feast comes down, but take a look at that. Featherstorm picks up one. End of the line picks up another. And yes, Jiizuke gets a kill down onto Maxlore. Wild Growth simply not quick enough.
That's not for Maxlore.
Unleashed power.
That's only for Ansama. That's what Sencux is telling us right here. But Vitality 4 versus 5 are trying to stop Misfits from going Baron, so they look for a fight. But Alphari with Righteous Glory will always get to them.
Now, they don't have a jungler, and they don't have the Feast on Alphari, so they're really setting up here to lock this down and maybe potentially get a turn if they can.
All right, Cabochard still got that unstoppable onslaught if he wants to. His presence alone has been enough to dissuade Misfits. Here comes Attila. Jiizuke's running low.
No mana.
Throws the Scuttle Crab. Cabochard still in amongst the fight. He's looking for the decimating smash. Knocks up a few. Attila's silenced. He can't throw out the Qs because the Feral Scream is so powerful. Forced Arcane Shift defensively, running for his life. Ansama shuts him down. He's on a killing spree, and Misfits maintain control.
They find the turn they wanted exactly. Now Maxlore has respawned. They have the Feast, so this is the perfect option. The opportunity to move on towards this Baron. It's going to be up to Kikis to keep Vitality's hopes alive in this game.
Oh, he has no flash on his side. Yes, there is a smite, but he's not even trying. He's walked away from it. He knows there's so little he can actually do. And this game here, in these last couple of minutes, it just feels like Vitality are running headfirst into the fist of Misfits. They're constantly trying to force engages when there are multiple members down. This is just 2 players. Cabochard is actually doing a perfect job. But then Attila joins.
Yeah, but look at this. Jiizuke already very low on mana. He has a sick combo at the start. Now he has nothing. Literally can't spam out any Qs at this point, so it's only Attila who can only hit 1 member at a time. And when there's a giant Cho'gath body blocking every single Mystic shot you throw, you're not going to have an impact in that fight.
Didn't see any auto attacks after that Feral Scream landed, and it's so difficult to deal with. You can see it, you can feel it. Attila facepalm in game 1 in this best of 5, and Vitality are significantly behind. Attila 1-3-1 on that Ezreal, 2.5 items, coming up against an Infinity Edge, Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon, and a QSS. So Misfits have all of the tools they need in the carry they want, and they've got a Lulu backing him up.
Look, we knew this series was going to be decided by the AD carries and the junglers, and right now, Misfits, Hansama, and Maxlore came out to play. Hansama is absolutely destroying in this match. Maxlore kept Kikis on a tight leash, and they've set up Misfits perfectly to try and crack open the base.
I think Mickey is trying to say it's not the AD carries, it's the bot laners, the combination of the two. Because this game, it's been Mickey setting up everything on the Rakan. Let's see around mid lane.
A former support to look for that as well.
Oh my god!
What? Alphari! Gobble, gobble, gobble!
It's nom nom nom, Trevor! It's nom nom nom!
Oh, not when you're as old as I am. And now Misfits, after eating Kikis legitimately alive, push into the base. They've got Baron enabled. They've got their inhibitor. 12 kills to Vive, 9,000 gold in the lead, and Alphari, he did it again. His Cho'gath is phenomenal.
It's actually just insane. He goes into top lane matchups where we think he's supposed to lose. He turns them around. He finds himself in a 1v2. Well, guess what? He's going to pick up that kill as well. You can see in the bottom left, Kikis thought they had the numbers advantage, but Alphari silenced him and said, no, you can't ult. I'm going to chunk you and kill you.
Just for what it's worth, there was around about 900 damage, true damage on that Feast. Because, of course, that single kill, Misfits now set themselves up for another inhibitor. Take a look at Mikyx, proving it's the bot laners that are taking the game for Misfits. Mikyx is going to get a reply back as Jactroll on the play. The Feast again! Kikis is able to get down Lamb's Respite, but Vitality are running for their lives. They've got not enough HP. They can't do it. The inhibitor is still alive, but Attila's trying to do stuff on the side. Jiizuke's still got access to that ultimate. He hasn't found a target available, and Wild Growth is used. Maxlore takes down Jactroll. It's a reply as Alphari goes down. The inhibitor still stands, and still nothing more for Vitality.
Oh, Jiizuke never found a target. He kept standing on the side. Sencux trying to kill him.
Whoa! Take a look at that. Sencux takes down Jiizuke before the unleashed power can even be used. It's 30 minutes on the clock, and this might be the death knell for Vitality.
Jiizuke was trying to hold on to the base for his team, but there's an exposed inhibitor up top. Misfits are still sticking around with 4 members. There's minions on the Nexus towers. They're looking for the win.
Baron empowered minions for another 12 seconds. The Nexus turrets are falling like dominoes, being cut through like a hot knife through butter. Misfits have got so much damage to deal with, and Kikis is living in grayscale. He's dead once again. Solar Flare catches onto Hansama, and Wildgrowth buys some time. He stays alive, takes down Jactroll, Mikyx, Sencux, everybody enabling Hansama. The knock up into the air, the triple kill. It's a quadra. Not gonna happen as Maxlore takes him down. Misfits win game 1.
This ended up being the perfect start to a best of 5 for Misfits. Vitality at side selection, they picked red side. They said, we're gonna give you Rakan. We have the Leona counter pick. It's ready, it's planned. It completely backfires in the bottom lane. Hansama and Mikyx, they get super far ahead, and then Misfits just run over Vitality.
And what a statement to make as well, because now you think about Vitality, well, they have to ban the Rakan, maybe even the Cho'gath, because Alphari has been a god on that pick. Misfits showed up, executed a strategy that worked against Fnatic and put Vitality way down.
Misfits show up. Hansama doing what was expected of him, but I think important to talk about the supporting crew. Mikyx, flawless on that Rakan. You can see why it's been banned so many times. And Sencux, the man on your screen, 2-0-6 on that Lulu. That was what you needed. He played well despite the laning phase falling behind. It's what you expect in that kind of matchup.
Exactly. And now, as I said, during the game, we've had 3 games here from Vitality in playoffs. 2 in the semifinal, now 1 in the 3rd place game, where they're trying to find a new non-meta pick for Jactroll. The Poppy twice against Schalke, now the Leona here. And they're simply not working. I need to see Jactroll just back on comfort, a more traditional pick, because having him as kind of the joker in your draft is not a successful strategy for Vitality.
Especially when these champions, all they can do is go in. There's no getting out of those fights on a Poppy or Leona, so Vitality need to refresh their perspective a bit and not go all ham after they fall behind the Misfits.
And take a look in the ready room. Vitality, stern and serious faces. It started falling apart during that laning phase, and there was never an engage that you felt like Vitality landed. They didn't land that 1-2 punch with that Syndra Leona combination. Now, this was Vitality's side selection as well. They picked red side in game number 1. They opted into those matchups and it didn't pan out. It'll be up to Misfits to take charge in the next game.
Yeah, they can easily grab blue side and say, so you ban the Urgot? Do you ban the Rakan as well? Well, you're almost running out of bans now.
Well, listen, there's not a lot of time for Vitality to figure out. We're going to get a little bit more insight in the games. Head over to the analyst desk.
Very much, Trevor. We are now looking at Vitality, who need to think hard and long about what they're going to do in Game 2, because Game 1 was all Misfits all over. Let's start by picks and bans, and it feels to me like Misfits stuck to what actually did work for them in a lot of parts of their semifinal versus Fnatic, putting Sencux on something that can help out the team, a tank for Alphari, and damage dealers for jungle and bot.
So I'll be honest, I was a little concerned when I saw this draft, because it felt like it was the same Misfits going up against Fnatic. And then I remembered, oh wait, it's the same Misfits going up against Fnatic that was actually a very close series. And I think what we saw was that this 2 versus 2 in the bot lane was incredible once again.
Yeah, and I think even though the game seemed very one-sided for Misfits, I actually believe that the draft was actually very good from Vitality's side, because if you look at the matchups, Kindred is winning against Graves, Syndra is winning against Lulu, and Leona and Ezreal should be winning against Xayah, Rakan. So you actually have a winning mid, a winning jungle, and a winning bot lane. But I think individually, they just completely fell apart.
Yeah, in theory, it works. In the game, it didn't work as such. Before we get to our first replays, let's recap our win conditions, our keys to victory for Misfits, because they did a lot what we thought they would do to approach this game.
Exactly that. Number 1, play to their bot lane strengths. Well, they got their bot lane a strong 2 versus 2, and as you rightly said, Kold, yes, in terms of the actual 2 versus 2, you do expect the Leona Ezreal to have the advantage, but it was just an outplay multiple times coming out from Mikyx and Hansama, punishing these small mistakes that we saw mainly from Jactroll in that 2 versus 2 setup. And we saw a Syndra, a non-roaming mid for Vitality.
Definitely. I think what the approach they had to the game I actually liked a lot. They just didn't execute on what they had to do. I think Kikis and Jiizuke, we see here, didn't actually play to their strengths. They had a lot of potential to make early game plays, but they actually didn't play around it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to agree when I see the picks coming out. You like that Jiizuke is on something else that gives him agency in the mid lane, of which he can show that he can dominate his opponent in Sencux, but that's not how the game's played out. Now, let's take a look at some early replays where it was all from Misfits. Early game is so important in this series. We know Vitality, when they have a good early game, they are on fire, but it was Misfits who dealt the first blows.
And this is even after that Vitality ganked the bottom side and forced Hansama's flash, so a lot of props to that bot lane. I think a lot of it came down to how they handled the lane and how they controlled the wave, because they always had the wave in front of a tower, and that's so important when you play against an aggressive pick like Leona who wants to all in all the time. So a lot of props to the bot lane, and they just simply 2v2 outplayed them.
Also tricky for Leona, as said already by the casters. It is one of those picks that when you do get ahead, you can become tankier, you get that W on, and you can withstand what they throw at you. But when you're behind, it is very hard to be an agent in those team fights.
Very hit or miss.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult to pull off, and the moment they started losing those 2 versus 2, things started to go downhill for the side of Vitality.
That it did. Before we go to that, I would want to highlight Maxlore. We talked a lot about Kikis versus Maxlore and who would be able to put their stamp on this one. In the early game, Maxlore and his Graves did so much damage and were especially important in the early phases.
And what I want to point out is the gold difference, because this really shows to me that he understands how to play this jungle matchup. He plays Graves against Kindred. He doesn't really want to match the Kindred early game. He want to play for camps, he want to play for farm, and get lead this way around. And I think that really showed in the game.
Yeah, and I think it's great to see from Maxlore, and I think it kind of cements this idea that Misfits consider him to be the stronger carry compared to Sencux, which is why we are seeing this style of Sencux being put onto these more supportive style of mid laners. And I think that they will continue that throughout the series, because I also think it's really important when you are going up against Vitality, where one of their big players that they rely on is Kikis in the jungle.
Yeah, I love it. It's a variation on just having your mid and AD carry be the damage dealers. Is Maxlore can be that. For Misfits, it looks good for them.
And what is exciting for me is the fact that because they're doing exactly the same that they did in a semifinal, we know they have to go through the gauntlet, regardless of how it's going to go today. So obviously, they don't want to show too much what they have prepared. And I think that's going to make them very scary going into gauntlet if they can just destroy Vitality with the same kind of style.
That's a great point. In the mid game, Vitality was very far behind. They did have some opportunities to get back in the game, or at least they tried. Let's take a look at this following replay in the bottom lane. Vitality is going to throw everything and Misfits, and even though they win the trade, I want to point out Mikyx on that Rakan.
Yeah, I tweeted about it. I have to say it again. I do believe that Mikyx Rakan is one of the best in the world. The fact that he has so much awareness of what he can do on the champion, where he needs to be, and every opportunity he can just maximize upon, he just does it. And he is so impressive to watch. You can understand why it was banned 8 out of 8 times so far in the playoffs.
And this play is just exactly what Vitality always does when they fall behind. They look for 5-man play, try to make a team fight happen, and in this case, I think they just didn't execute it properly, and then it looks beautiful when Mikyx is on Rakan.
Well, we looked at a couple of key matchups, you know, AD carry and jungle, but could the discrepancy between Mikyx and Jactroll be what decides a lot of these games?
Based on what we've seen so far, I feel like it could very well be. The fact that Mikyx has always been a huge playmaker, and the fact that the 2v2 bot lane is just finding advantages by themselves without that much assistance from Maxlore, is something that Vitality need to rectify moving on throughout the series.
To me, if you get the opportunity to counterpick the support, and you then again lose the lane and have less impact, for me that's a huge flaw. So either they have to remove the Rakan, or they just simply accept the fact that they misplayed and then they try it again. I think higher chance they will remove the Rakan from the game, because it's just too much of a power pick for Misfits.
Yeah, it seems like a high chance they'll remove their own Leona from the next game, but we'll see. As we button up this game, from that point on, it was all Misfits all the time. We talked about the bottom lane being ahead, and Hansama, he just did it himself by the end. He didn't allow anyone else to take any kills, rather. He just killed Attila over and over again.
Yeah, we have to keep talking about Hansama and this bot lane because of how impressive they are when it comes to Misfits winning. If this duo can find a lead, then they always look strong, and they're so impactful in getting Misfits ahead in these leads. And now we're just looking at some of the mid-game fights where Misfits, with that early game lead, just started ripping through Vitality.
And it looks like when in the semifinals, when they played versus Fnatic, Misfits had a wonderful early game, but against team fighting Fnatic, it is very, very difficult to win. Vitality are not that team, so in essence, if they do the same thing, they should be able to win here.
It is very, very different though, because the way Fnatic was drafting in the semifinal was way more scaling. And then if you're not able to execute the game when you have the lead, then the scaling will just come through and then they will just start winning the team fights. But we know Vitality, they like to draft for early game, but in this game, they just collapse in the early game. And then you don't really have the ability to come back in the game. And that's the biggest flaw in the draft, if they don't execute in the early game.
And I'm looking forward to game 2 because Misfits have selected red. This means that they'll be the one to get the counter pick. And given that they've already won lanes in matchups that they should have been losing, now the fact that they'll have winning lanes is even scarier for Vitality.
So are we looking at Vitality to alter their comms? They did have the Ezreal, which is scaling, but what other elements do you want to see go to the scaling side if they want to have more of a chance?
I think the draft doesn't matter, honestly. If you go into a game, if you go into a game and you don't execute on what your champion can do, then it doesn't matter what you draft. I think it's more important for them to mentally just reset themselves. It was just one game. You need to be ready to perform with the champions you have and play to the conditions, and that's where they really failed.
They have to reset Vitality because Misfits are looking for redemption here tonight, and they got off to a great start. Let's see if they can take us to match point right after this.
Lot of pressure on the shoulders of Misfits and Vitality for playing here in the Palacio Vista Alegre in Madrid, which is a special place for Attila as well. And I love hearing that roar. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for the finals weekend here in Spain. He's now managed to make it to the team, and Kikis almost gets 2 shot. He's knocked up into the air. Lamb's Respite will simply not be enough. Feast comes down, but take a look at that. Featherstorm picks up 1. Cabochard still in amongst the fight. He's looking for the decimating smash. Knocks off a few. Attila's silenced. He can't throw out the Qs because the Feral Scream is so powerful. Forced Arcane Shift defensively, running for his life. Hans Sama shuts him down. Mikyx, Sencux, everybody enabling Hans Sama. The knock up into the air. The triple kill. It's a quadra. Not gonna happen as Maxlore takes him down. Misfits win game 1.